Okay, all right. Welcome creators, I'm Blue Clary, and for today's tutorial, we're going to be 3D modeling this cupcake in the Core Games editor. We're going to be kitbashing, which means combining and modifying pre-made objects to create something unique and exciting. Let's go, let's have some fun. So you might notice that my editor looks a little different than yours. I've already decorated my sky and I've changed the material on my default floor just to make it look a little cozy for me. I've also moved my panels around. You can just drag these tabs and get your workspace looking the way that you want it. So we have our cupcake and we can break that down into parts. We have a cup, we have a cake, and then we have some frosting and maybe some decorations for it. And I'm going to start with the cup part, which is kind of a cone shape with a little part of it cut off. So we're going to type in cone into my basic shapes over here. And we're going to look at the cone truncated here. I like this one. So I'm going to grab this cone truncated here. And I'm going to drag it into my scene. So I could drag it into the viewport here in the center. But what I'm actually going to do is drag it into the hierarchy because that's going to place it right at 0, 0, 0, right in the center of my default floor. I'm noticing that these gizmos are kind of in the way. I'm just going to press V, make them disappear, and you can just toggle them with V. It's just our spawn point and some stuff with the lighting. Let's press F to center this in our camera. There we go. I'm going to take this cone and I'm going to make it a lot bigger because I like to build really big and then scale things down when I need to. So we can use these transform tools over here on the left. Translation, which is just move, rotation. You can't tell that it's rotating, but rotation and scaling here. And you can also use the keyboard shortcuts W, E, and R to toggle between those. Okay, so we're going to scale. Now I can use these. I can use these axes. I can scale it in these directions. I'm doing Ctrl Z to undo. Or you can take this white box in the center and it'll scale it in all the different directions at once, which that's what I want to do. I'm also using my scroll wheel to back my camera out. I can also right-click on the screen and just drag my cursor like this, or I can right-click and pan with WASD. And another really useful thing to do is you can click on an object to select it, and then you can use Alt and orbit around the object. That's a really nice thing to know how to do. So what we want to do now is we want to flip this whole thing over. We want to flip our truncated cone over. And I could do this I could just flip it like this, you know, using my rotate tool, but I want it to be very precise. I want it to flip completely over 180 degrees. So I'm going to use grid snapping, snap to grid. So here's my snapping tool right here. I can turn it on and off here. I can also use G to turn snapping on and off. And I can change the degrees that I'm snapping it, or if you're using it for moving, you can change the increment that you're moving it. I'm, using rotate now, so I'm doing 90 degrees here. And then watch. Boop. See, that's perfect. It's flipped over. I'm turning snapping off now so I can move it smoothly. Okay, there you go. Next, I want to do the cake part, right? So that's kind of like a dome shape. I feel like it looks a little like a sphere, kind of like a squished sphere. So I'm just going to type in sphere. And here's a sphere. Looks great. So I'm going to drag it into the hierarchy again. So there it is. See, when we build at that origin at 0, 0, 0, it makes it so that everything is just lined up great. I'm going to squish it down a little bit using those same tools. We're going to put these in a group. So I'm going to select both of these. I could select them here in the viewport, or I could select them in my hierarchy. I'm clicking, and I'm using Shift. Now I'm going to right click on these and I'm going to choose new group containing these. Also, I'm going to call it Cupcake Yay. Cupcake Yay. Hi. It doesn't matter. Okay. So also if I want to quickly group things, I can use, I think it's Ctrl G. So I have grouped these together. Now I can just move these all together. I can scale them together. I could make them into a template later. That's a whole other thing. We want to make these into a group and not a folder. Folders are going to partition off a whole other section of your project, like in the actual file. For the purposes of making a model, use a group. Let's add some frosting to that. So I'm typing in teardrop. Okay, so we have a few different teardrops here. I'm going to go with teardrop 3. And now I'm going to drag that teardrop into our group that we just made. And it'll just automatically be in a group with all this stuff, which is perfect. So let's just do what we did before. We're just going to change the shape of this. Change the shape of it to make it look how we want to look. I don't know. Sometimes I use these over here. Sometimes I use my keyboard shortcuts. It's chaos. It's chaos. Who knows? I didn't use keyboard shortcuts for the longest time because I couldn't remember them. And I was just like, oh, typing. But it really saves you a lot of time. Oh, also something I wanted to show you too is you might notice I don't have any shadows right now. I actually went into my default sky. And you can go into, I think, sunlight. I went into the sunlight and I turned off cast shadows because I just thought the shadows were distracting me a little bit. I thought it was going to be a little easier to build without it. You don't have to do that, but that's what I'm doing. All right, so we have the shapes that we need here. We've got like a basic cupcake shape. So cupcake shape, that sounds delicious. Cupcake shape. We've got a good shape here, and the next thing I want to do is materials, and materials are so fun. I love materials, so we're going to have a lot of fun with this. I'm going to start with the cup again. So we are going to click here. These are the properties here, and we're going to click on the material. I want a material that has some ridges, kind of like cupcake cups. They have like some ridges on them, right? So I'm going to go look for a good material that has ridges. Here's what I want. Metal corrugated. So we have a few different ones. I'm choosing this one. And there we go. Now we have corrugated metal on here. If I wanted to, I could use this color override. And I could change the color here. I want to change the tiling. So I can't change the tiling right now because I have smart materials checked on. So I want to uncheck this. Smart materials, make it so that the material and, you know, the textures on it are aligned with Workspace. And so you can see that the stripes are staying in the same place as I move my object, as opposed to aligned with the surface of your object. So it's like projected on as opposed to painted on. Sometimes it's nice to have smart materials because it can hide the seams between objects, but we don't need that right now. So let's make a custom material because I want to have more options. Oh yeah, here you can change the tiling here in the overrides now that I've unchecked smart materials. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a custom material because I'm going to have a lot more options of stuff I can do here. So let's make the color pink. All right. I'm going to, right in the albedo here, it's just going to make it so that it reflects more light. I like that better. And something that's really fun that we can do with this metal that you can't do with all not every material has this option is we can change the rust, we can add rust to it. I love it. I think that's super fun. Oh, here, I'll show you another way you can do materials. So come over here into our material. You can click on the materials here in core content, and then they'll be all over here instead of in the properties. And you can just drag whatever material you want onto this. I'm going to go with sand. And you can see now we have all these sandbags and stuff, which we don't need. But here's the material. I'm going to drag it onto there. And then remember, we are going to uncheck smart materials. Time for our frosting. And again, we want kind of nice, like, you know, we want it to look like swirly frosting with like ridges on it. And you can see that if you choose, depending on the materials you choose, you can make it look like this. You can totally change the shape of your shape. This looks like it's a shape with ridges on it, but it's just the material that did that. So let's do that with the frosting too, okay? All right, changing the material. And you can see right here our metal material is actually saved here in our custom materials if we wanted to use it again, which is really useful. Okay, I should have given it a name and I didn't. We'll do it next time. I want paper lantern 01. Okay, and we're gonna create a custom material here. Let's uncheck smart materials. We don't need that. Cool. I'm gonna make it white, maybe like a vanilla kind of frosting. You can change the tiling here. Cool. Something that we can do with this one is rotate the material. So I'm gonna write a value in here. Rotate it like 60. I like that. Ooh, I like that. Yes, looking good. So this material is a lantern material, so it's glowing a little bit, and we don't need a glowing cupcake, although that would be kind of fun, but we don't need it. So I'm going to take this subsurface scattering and the emissive boost and turn those down, and you can see the shadows look a little better now. Let's add a gradient to this. I'm going to add yellow. I want it to feel kind of like a nice like lemony experience here. I love lemon desserts. Now I want to flip this gradient over because I want the lemon part to be on the top. I want the yellow to be on top and the white to be on bottom. So I'm just going to change this Z value to -1. And that flipped my gradient. Great, I love it. I'm going to change the gradient shift and fall off. Perfect. I love cupcakes with a lot of frosting. And I want this one to have a ton of frosting. I'm trying to make a cupcake that I would want to eat. Oops. Okay, here. Let me show you what I just did. Okay. So I accidentally duplicated my whole cupcake. And that is because I'm in group select mode. You can change over here. You can put it in group select mode, or you can put it in object select. If you're in object select, you're selecting one object. So let's make it an object select. I can also toggle that with C. All right, now that we're in object select, let's duplicate our frosting. Ctrl W, or right click and duplicate right here. And we're just going to stack these up. Looking good, I like it. Let's stack another one. Ctrl W. If you forget Ctrl W, just think wooplicate instead of duplicate. That's what my friend Tasha taught me to think. I always think of Tasha whenever I duplicate. I'm always like, oh, wooplicate. Let's just make this a little wonky. Just going to rotate these a little bit. Make it look a little cuter, right? Oh, I love this. You guys, I love this. I love this cupcake. It's looking amazing. And you're going to make a cupcake too, and yours is going to look amazing too. I'm so excited for you. Let's orbit around this and check it out and see if it looks good from all sides. There's a little bit of a seam here. I don't care, honestly. But if you cared, you could put decorations on it. You could cover it up with something. This is a very harsh edge. Generally, you don't want that in your props, in your environments. It kind of makes it look unrealistic. So here's something I really like to do that's a good trick. I'm going to take this cone, the cup part, right? And I'm going to duplicate it, Ctrl W. And let's take this and here. So this is just the same cone, but I've changed the shape of it a little bit to make it into a little lip here, right? That's kind of cute. I still am not sure how I feel about this. I'm actually going to swap this entire mesh out. These objects, you can call them meshes. So I'm going to swap this whole thing out and change it to a different shape. So you can come here, and I didn't figure this out for a really long time, and it is very useful, and I use it very often. So come over here into the properties. Not only can you change the materials, but you can change the entire shape. So click on here, and here we have our mesh picker. I'm going to choose, I want a ring. I'm going to choose ring beveled. It changed that whole shape into a ring beveled. How sick is that? And you know what? It kept the same material and everything. And that is very useful. And you can also change the mesh out by dragging something from this object library and putting it in here. I changed it into a sandbag. I like this a lot. I would eat this. Like, I would eat this. Something I also said that I wanted to have on our cupcake is decorations. Just a little bit of decorations, right? Make this look a little cute. You might, decorations for this cupcake are a really great place for you to express yourself and come up with what you want to do with your cupcake. What I want to do with my cupcake is I want to add some sprinkles. Let's go into our nature shapes here. Look at all these beautiful nature props, right? I could get some flowers. I could put flowers on it. What I'm going to do is this fun, neat little trick that I figured out earlier. I'm going to use coral. No, I spelled it wrong. Okay, we're going to take our coral, and this is going to be really cool. Watch this. I'm putting it into my cupcake. Cupcake, yay, hi. I'm toggling between my transform tools using W, E, and R. Watch this. Do you see this? Do you see what I did? Do you see I'm such a genius? So now we have sprinkles, and that actually was just me using this coral and poking it through the top. And now we have some little sprinkly shapes, right? Let's go into our materials here. And I want a material that has a bunch of colors on it. So we need a multicolored material. What about this? What about camouflage splinter? Okay. I'm gonna click that. We're creating a custom material here, okay? Let's change the colors here. We have 3 colors. Pink. I mean, pink and blue are my favorite colors, so we're gonna probably end up using those. All right. That's cute. Oh my goodness. Okay. Okay. So, we did it. We made sprinkles. Doesn't it look cool? Why is my voice so high right now? The last thing I want to do is I want to put our little cupcake on a plate. So, we don't have to make a plate from scratch because we can just use one of Core's plates from the library. So, let's just type in, I'm typing in dish. And I'm going to grab Urban Dishware Plate 01 right here. I'm going to drag it right into my hierarchy. So it'll be right there at the center. Like I told you, it's good to build at the center. There we go. But I did create a material already that I'm going to use. Perfect. There you go. If you want to watch me mess around with materials more, I might make a material tutorial. Let me know in the comments if you're interested in that. Okay, so here's our cupcake. We have everything that we wanted. We have our cup, we have our cake, we have frosting, we have decorations. I love it. I think we did a great job today. Share with us in the comments, what flavor cupcake will you make? Like this spooky cake by Shallow, and you can post them in our community Discord, which is linked in the description. Until next time, keep creating, keep playing. I believe in you. Oh, we got a cat. We got a cat here. What is he doing? He's destroying my green screen. Honey.